Welcome to the Digital Amateur Television Experimenters Night. This is VK7 OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania. Amateur radio is a worldwide hobby that has many different aspects. Digital television is just one of the many modes and areas that are covered. Maybe you're interested in becoming involved in the DATV Experimenters Nights. You realise that you do not have to be a radio amateur or need any ATV equipment to participate anywhere in the world. Also participate in the night by coming up to the Queen's Domain clubrooms. Yes, right on top of the Queen's Domain in the heritage-listed Coast Wireless Station. You never know, we might get you in front of the camera or behind doing one of the many roles during the night. We get underway with our program on a Wednesday night from 7:30 p.m. local time. We'll see you soon. This is VK7 OTC.
Okay. This is VK7 OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania with our DATV Experimenters Night. And I've got Rex, VK7MO, in the studio. Hello, Rex.
Hello, Justin.
How are you going?
I'm going okay, yes.
Excellent, excellent. And it will become clear why Rex is in the studio in a short moment. I wish to acknowledge Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the traditional owners of the land upon which we are presenting, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the memories, the knowledge, the culture and hopes of Aboriginal Tasmania. Now, the reason I've got Rex in the studio is, if you'd like to hold up, this arrived in our mailbox.
DUBUS?
Now, DUBUS Magazine, for those who may not have come across DUBUS Magazine, emanates from Germany. It's a bilingual magazine. All the articles are in English and in German. And if you're into microwave experimentation, this is probably the magazine, because CQ VHF doesn't exist anymore, does it? Or does it? Does it?
I don't think so.
I don't think
but
it
I
does.
don't. Well, I don't know. But the English VHF magazine doesn't exist anymore. I know that. What was that called? VHF Communication or something.
Yeah. RSGB.
That's right, and that doesn't exist anymore.
So this is the this is the microwave magazine, and it's relatively cheap actually to get it landed here.
It's about $48 Australian for
every quarter.
Yeah.
So every quarter it comes out, and in this particular edition, which is, it is number 53, volume 53, second quarter of this year to 2024. In this particular edition, there is an article by some suspicious looking characters. Now let me go to here and zoom out, and we will see that this particular article is on lightning scatter on 23 centimetres using MSK 144 by one Mr. Rex Moncur and Brodie Churchill VK3 MAP. So there you go. Take us through it, Rex.
Okay. Background to this is Brodie's in Victoria, about 505 kilometres away, from us, and we regularly do tests on 1296 aircraft scatter whenever there's a duct, a high level duct, because we need a high level duct
to get over our mountains.
Yes, to get over our mountains. And we were running Q6560B, which is what we generally do. And there were these little sharp pings like meteors.
Okay.
And Brodie heard them first, then I heard one. I said that you wouldn't get meteors at 1296, but we should change to MSK 144, the meteor scatter mode.
Okay.
And fairly soon after doing that, we started to get decodes. Now, if we can look at those, I don't know whether they'll show up.
Oh, we're pretty good. We've actually got a new interface to our... So if I zoom in here, we should be able to get those. Yep.
Now, the top blue, the red is actual decodes.
Yep. Up here.
And there is a weak...
Oh, just here.
Just there's a weak lightning ping there.
Yep.
And then there's a stronger lightning ping. They're very short.
How short are we talking?
0.1 to 0.2 of a second.
Right, okay.
And MSK 144 actually works down to 70 milliseconds, so 0.1 of a second is enough if you sit the 70 milliseconds in the middle of it.
Yeah, okay.
We got about 50 decodes on lightning. The only problem we had was the next one down.
Yep. So we're talking about this one.
That one. We also got decodes on that, and that you can tell they're not short pings. They're
spread out.
And they turned out to be aircraft scatter.
Right. Okay.
And now, if you look at the chart below...
So that's what aircraft scatter looks like with MSK 144?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Now, you wouldn't really expect aircraft scatter to work on 144, but because MSK 144 is really designed for very short things, and you don't normally get better than about -3 or maybe -5 signal reports.
Okay.
But occasionally, aircraft's always having scattered reflections from different parts.
Yep.
Occasionally, you do. And if you look at the next graph just down below
yeah.
I think is that the Doppler one? No, that might be the next one.
No, the signal level. So we go to the Doppler one?
You go to the Doppler one.
Okay. If we go to the Doppler one...
Now the red ones are aircraft scatter, and you can see they're all close together.
Yep.
And the blue ones are the lightning.
Okay.
Which are far more scattered, much more Doppler shift, and
we've got them all over the place.
All over the place. Now, at the time, we thought we completed 3 QSOs, but it turned out that 2 of those QSOs had the aircraft scatter involved in them.
Okay.
So we completed 1 QSO before the aircraft, and so we actually only completed 1 fully lightning scatter decode.
Yep.
And I have subsequently, where there was a much weaker lightning storm about 3 weeks later.
Okay.
We got 5 decodes, so it wasn't an absolute one-off.
No, well and truly.
Okay. Now, the interesting thing is, all of the lightning needs to be about halfway between me and Brodie
Yep.
to work reasonably well,
Okay.
which puts it sort of just off Devonport in Bass Strait.
Okay.
And Justin's commented, because he used to live there at some stage, that there's a lot of lightning.
Well, there's just a lot of lightning. Well, in comparison to Hobart,
Yes.
there's a lot of lightning that you look out into Bass Strait on. So
My grandson one of my grandsons is now living in Devonport,
there you go.
and I said to him, if you see any lightning, ring me up and let me know. He said, oh yeah, and then he sort of looked at me blankly, like, he said, why don't you just use an app? And
How old's your grandson?
well, he's 22 now.
There's an app for that.
And that is a lightning app. We can
Okay.
probably put this on the...
Yeah. We can well and truly put this on the...
And so I have set this app up so that any lightning within this circle
Alerts you.
alerts me.
I love it.
there's,
I absolutely love it.
there's lightning. So I said to my grandson, how do you know about these things? And he says, well, my job is operations manager for the swimming pool there, and we have to close the pool
When there's lightning.
when there's lightning.
I love
And he
it.
said the way we used to do that was if you saw lightning flashes, you timed it, and if it was a certain time, you closed the pool. But he said, I showed him how to do it with an app.
I love it.
Yes.
Absolutely love it.
Now the other aspect to this is I put in a claim. There's a club in the Czech Republic who look after all the VHF and above world records.
Okay.
And I put in a claim for a world record for lightning scatter propagation,
Cool.
which they acknowledged
Accepted.
and accepted.
Okay.
So we have the only lightning scatter record, probably the only lightning scatter QSO, because prior to this I could not find any other examples on the web of a QSO being...
Of an exchange, a contact exchange. Yeah.
There were two hams had reported lightning scatter, one from a 432 meg beacon and one from a TV station, but
Okay.
They weren't exchanging information. It's a
It's one-way reception.
and the beacon, I think, was only a CW beacon, so in 0.1 of a second you wouldn't get
the
too
variation.
much.
Yep.
But one thing that both of them commented that the pings were up to 0.6 of a second, and on thinking about that, it occurs to me, if you take an analogy with meteor scatter,
Yep.
the higher the frequency, the shorter the pings.
Yep. Okay.
And so maybe the 0.6 of up to 0.6 of a second applies to sort of 432 and UHF TV sort of.
Yep.
And while we only got really 0.1 of a second, one that's 0.2, which might be two together.
Yep.
It may be the higher the frequency you go, the analogy with meteor scatter works out, and they just get too short.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's another reason why 1296 might be an upper limit, if that's true.
Okay. So the mode that's happening here is the ion. So when a lightning strike occurs, it ionizes the air,
Yes.
the column of air, which is that's the sound you hear, isn't it?
No. Well, one of these hams, he wrote a nice article back 10 years ago.
Okay.
It was a South African guy who was listening to this TV station.
Yep.
He points out that what you hear when you're on HF
Yep.
is the initial lightning strike, and that noise only lasts microseconds.
Yeah. Okay.
But after that, at VHF, you get a longer period when you can actually detect a signal.
Okay.
Now, I didn't see, even by looking at replaying files and looking as carefully, I couldn't see any evidence of that microsecond thing at the start.
Okay.
But of course, by the time if it really is only sort of microseconds, by the time you put it through filters and WSJT, probably
those artifacts would disappear.
They probably are not evidence.
Yeah. Okay.
But this guy who did this experiment actually listened for the lightning pings at LF.
Yeah. Okay.
As well as correlating
which is traditionally how they do lightning detection. It's at LF type MF and LF type frequencies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
With long wire antennas and all sorts of stuff.
And of course nowadays they can use GPS timing and if triangulate it.
Yeah. In fact, Mike MJ, so Mike Groth, was involved in some of that when he was working for the University of Otago. So down the bottom of New Zealand, the University of Otago had one of those, and we're talking about the 60s and 70s here. Had one of the southernmost lightning detectors.
Right. Well, it wasn't the southern...
No, but...
because I can tell you another one about the 1960s.
Okay.
When I was working at the Bureau of Met.
Yep. Yeah.
One of my colleagues, actually a good friend of mine, he was asked to do a project to track lightning because you could use that to track the cold fronts coming across the sun.
As they went across?
And because they didn't have timing information, they had to know when there was a common lightning ping.
Okay.
And what they set up was a HF radio station in Melbourne, another one in Perth, another one at Casey in Antarctica.
There you go.
And they had the guys at each place, and then they had a loop antenna, or a cross loop, which enabled you to detect the direction. At each of these stations, and a big oscilloscope, radar type PPI, and these guys would then, every time they call a ping, whoever saw it yelled, and if the others saw a ping at the same time, they read off the bearing.
So this is yelled as in yelled on HF.
Yelled on HF. Now there's a few problems. If you're in Antarctica, to get a HF link that actually works Melbourne, Perth and Casey...
You need kilowatts, don't you?
Well, they probably did have kilowatts. I don't know... Well, they certainly had kilowatts at Casey. What they had in Melbourne and Perth. Probably... Yeah, I don't know whether they used the coastal radio stations.
Well, there you go.
But it was...
But that meant you actually had to be watching all the time.
Well, they do a test, say, for a quarter of an hour once a day or something. So... But even so, a lot of the time communication didn't work and so forth. So it never turned out to be viable, but it was a fascinating thing to see it all going on.
Oh, truly. Well and truly.
It's much easier today.
Correct.
Yes.
And you've got an app for it.
Yes. All right.
That's fantastic, Rex. Just stick around, because what we'll do next... and I have a bit of a warning. again, there is a little bit more science being undertaken here. It's a joke. A few programs ago, I showed I'll just switch it on. I showed the Radiacode 103. And so this is a radiation detector produced, actually, it's only about 18 months old, year to an 18 months old. So produced out of Latvia, I think, somewhere like that. It is a radiation detector, a dosimeter, and a few other. They've got a few other functions in there. It's getting rave reviews right at the moment from the radiation sector. And can I just say, it's a bit like time nuts.
Right.
Does
it work on the principle of a Geiger counter?
Well and truly.
Yeah.
Well and truly. There is actually, the way that it actually works is there is a little photomultiplier tube in it, a little miniature photomultiplier tube in it that scintillates. There's a radioactive source in here, very small radioactive source.
Right.
And I think it's a very small radioactive source, or there is a chamber in here, one or the other, or it could be both. And the various types of radiation hit that source, turns it to a photon. The photon gets multiplied by the photomultiplier tube, and then they measure the intensity of what they end up with.
So it's not really a Geiger counter.
Oh no, it is a Geiger counter. Well, a Geiger counter where you've got a Geiger tube, so you've got the void with the filled with inert gas and the line and anything that gets to the electrode in the middle.
It sounds like a lot more complicated than a straight Geiger counter.
It's a lot more, but it does give you the ability to do a count per second of the scintillations of the actual.
Well, you could do that with a Geiger counter, but it sounds like this does different types of radiation than just xray.
Correct. All the way through to scary bits of radiation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's getting some pretty reasonable reviews. So I was on a trip to Adelaide over the last week. That's why I wasn't here last week, and I thought, I'm going to test a particular theory that when you go up into the atmosphere, the lack of atmosphere as you go up creates higher levels of cosmic ray radiation. So I thought the ideal way of testing that is to take one of these in a plane. And of course you go up to, in this case, 35,000 feet. And theoretically the amount of cosmic ray radiation will increase. So it did. And in fact the funny story I can relate here is I had it in my pocket, and when the thresholds on it are set to about 8 counts. When it goes past 8 counts per second, there is an alarm goes off. Unfortunately, I had the thing on, turned the sound off, but the little green flashing LED, which you can see on here, you can see here, this is just background radiation, turns to red, and of course at higher levels of radiation that's flashing a whole lot more and becoming solid. It's giving you the reading on here and the dosimeter reading as well. Anyway, using that coupled with the iPhone application, so the iPhone gives you the location services, so that it uses the GPS in the iPhone to plot where it is, and then also record the dose and also the counts per second. When you then plot that, so I used a little Python script. Can I just say, I used a Python script that ChatGPT came up with. Because when I put in all of the data, ChatGPT decided that it was not going to do it, or it couldn't do it, and told me how to do it and gave me the Python script to do it. So it gave me the Python script. Now, I did have to do some data manipulation to actually get it to work, but once I'd done that data manipulation, this is the plot. Now, bear in mind, so what we're talking about here is a dose rate on this scale, and the scale is microsieverts per hour as a dose rate. This is height on this axis here, which is 0 to 35,000 feet. In fact, that was one thing that the AI didn't pick up on. It was feet, not meters. So what we're looking at here is when I'm on the ground. I was on the ground in Adelaide. Rise up progressively to cruising height, which was about 35,000 feet, and then stay there for a little while, and there's a range of higher radiation levels here, and then on the way down back into Tasmania, and it goes back down to here. So it gets to around about at 35,000 feet, it sort of peaks on about 1 microsievert per hour sort of levels, and I'll go into what that means in a sec. If I turn over the page, this is the count rate. So this is counts per second, so this is counts per second, goes from 0 to 17.5, so that's the scale. Again, there are some little blips at the beginning here, which are probably, I don't know, higher sources when I was on the ground. It heads up, it gets to about 25,000 feet, gets you to about 8 counts per second, which is where the alarm goes off. That's the threshold that it's set at. You can change that threshold. And then it goes up to about 15, about 17, the highest is about 17 counts per second. It's a whole range here at cruising height. And then it comes back down again when we land in Hobart. So that proved to me that all of those things that they say about going up in the sky and having less atmosphere between you and the sun causes the amount of cosmic ray radiation to increase.
I got a couple of questions.
Yep. Which I probably can't answer, but anyway.
I'm very surprised about the very large change.
Okay.
If it was only cosmic radiation, and I wonder whether there's also alpha and beta particles,
which this picks up. It actually picks up alpha, beta, and gamma particles.
Right.
So it actually picks up all
gamma's
three.
Cosmic radiation. And I think the alpha and beta are coming from the sun.
Yep.
In which case, there's a fair chance that some of the activity that's going on in the sun at the moment,
which is significant,
might have affected these results. And if you did it again, you might get
a different result.
Quite a different result. Partly, I say this because I've got an actual Geiger counter, and physically, I'm sure it's bigger than anything that could be in there, and it doesn't produce more than 1 or 2 counts per second.
Background.
Or on the ground.
On the ground.
Yeah.
Which is what we're talking about here. Like this is about 1 or 0.5 counts per second on the ground.
Yeah.
On the ground, and then as it went up, it got to sort of peaked on about 17.
Anyway, so I just think there might be worth understanding what sort of radiation is being measured.
and I'm not sure. I don't know enough about this device as to whether you can turn, like, only say register alpha, beta, or gamma radiation. Yes. And it's certainly in the data set. It's not telling you what detectors going off. You might be able to configure it so that it does that. The data set's pretty simple. It's count, date, time, count, and dose rate. That's the data set that you actually pull out of the device. But anyway, I have seen all these wonderful charts, and I I proved it to a little... Now, what I'll also show you... Now, ANSTO, which is our radiation agency, has this wonderful little chart. Now, I'm probably going to have to zoom in here. So this is cosmic ray dose rates at different altitudes. So you go down at sea level and they're talking about 0.03 microsieverts per hour, which is about the background level that we're getting. That's about the background level. If you switch that on, that is about the background level. That's a bit more than what it is. There we go. It's starting to come down, 0.07. Mexico City, which is quite high up in altitude, it's at 2240 meters. You get 0.09 microsieverts per hour. La Paz in Bolivia, which is at 3900 meters, so 3.9 kilometers up. The air would be slightly thinner. It's 0.23, so we've gone up an order of magnitude. International air travel, which is at 8,000 metres, which is the 35,000 feet that we were travelling at. It's 3.7 microsieverts per hour, which is comparable. And then they talk about supersonic aircraft, which travel at about 15,000 metres, and that's at 13 microsieverts per hour. So quite a bit more.
Can we see Mount Wellington equivalent on that?
So
Okay.
Mount Wellington equivalent, so this is 2240. The Mount Wellington equivalent, there's 2,000 metres, there's 1,000 metres, so just above that. It would be somewhere there. And my pen's not working. Hang on, let me find a pen that works. So around about there.
So that...
So we would be between 0.03 and 0.09. So at up the higher end, so 0.06, 0.07 microsieverts.
So more than double what would be at sea level.
0.03 to 0.06. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well and truly. Well and truly. Which you could prove. I could take that up to the top of Mount Wellington and see that it goes up to the background level. You'd have to make sure that you weren't sitting on, radioactive dolerite and a few other things. So, but that's perfectly good. So yeah. So now, ANSTO also make the comment. Oh, hang on. Let me go back to here. ANSTO also make the comment that on average Australians receive about 1,500 microsieverts a year from natural background radiation. Your additional dose from a medical use of radiation would depend on your medical history. The dose rate of a chest x-ray would be small, around about 1.5% of the annual dose rate due to natural background radiation, while multiple x-rays in conjunction with a barium enema may be several times larger than the annual background rate. So I'll put the link to this this particular document.
Just a comment that you probably not old enough to remember.
Probably
when
not.
I was a kid...
I'm old, but I'm not that old.
No. When I was a kid, when you went to a shoe shop, they used to x-ray your foot
feet.
to see whether your feet
I was on the tail end of that.
to see whether your feet were properly fitting into your shoes.
There you go.
That all got stopped, and I think the reason was...
People had radioactive feet.
Well, the amount of radioactivity, particularly for a child...
At the beginning of their life.
Yeah, was probably not a safe thing.
There you go. I love it. So why did they x-ray your feet? I don't get why they would do that.
To see if your feet were fitting into your shoes properly.
So you'd see the shoe outline around your feet.
And
Right.
I mean, you actually saw the bones.
Yeah.
But in the shoe.
Yeah. If you had a lot of flesh on your bones, you'd probably,
Yeah, and somehow this was a sales pitch for selling shoes.
Very expensive to put x-ray tubes into shoe shops.
But they were pretty common.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really remember exactly what age, but I can certainly remember my mum thinking it was important that
you had your foot x-rayed.
Yeah, well, that my fitted my shoes. And this was just what proved it, or otherwise, as far as the advertising was.
Now, I'm sorry, guys. We have a huge number on the streaming channel. Hello to Lionel and Darren, VK4GEO, and Andrew Elwell, Ben, Stefan, and the north of the island, Stefan and Andre and Idris. Hello, guys in the north, and Jason, VK3IK. We've got Andy. Hello from the UK. Ron. We've got Ross. David Goodrick. Hello, David. And I did get your message earlier. Yes, it was a bit of a debacle on the roads. Ken, VK7DY, David Bannister. Yep. Now, Sean, unlikely to be alpha radiation. Alpha can be blocked by a few centimetres of air. Beta radiation would be blocked by the aluminium body of the aircraft. Well, there you go. Andrew Elwell, pull the KML for your flight from flight radar type places and replot the radiation information and see if it's higher over sea and land. That's exactly what I did, Andrew. That was the flight radar 24 is where I got the height information from. So they plot the height information, and then I put that together with the radiation data. So good stuff. But overseas, I can well and truly do that. X-raying your feet would be the only way of dealing with tinea. That would be one way of dealing with tinea. Yes, okay. Thank you, Sean. The Googles tell me shoe fitting fluoroscope, 1920s to the 1970s.
Okay.
This is nuts. I agree, Lionel. This is nuts. Fluoroscope. Oh my God. That sounds like a marketing campaign. It's like one of the things I saw in Adelaide. I just have to say, I just have to mention this. I went into the supermarket in Adelaide, and I was looking in the for my mother, actually, shopping for my mother, and I came across these in the shoe store. These are cans of liquid death. Now, when I read the label, if you look a bit closer, it is sparkling water, carbonated water from the Alps, mountain water from the Alps, drinking water from the Alps, mango chainsaw, which is now. I'm sorry, but there are some serious advertising gurus out there who are on something strange to call water liquid death and market it, and people buying it. So yes. Anyway, so I'll let you go, Rex.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the one thing we didn't mention was Rex is actually presenting the lightning scatter presentation, and also potentially the auroral propagation presentations at the conference in November. So thank you, Rex. Now, let me just do a bit of a reset here. Okay, where are we? What are we doing? I'll just I mentioned in the notes for this presentation that I let the smoke out. Now, this particular IC that you're looking at here, it's a little 8-pin dual inline IC. It has cracked all the way through. If I turn it over, it is well and truly cracked on the other side. I well and truly let the smoke out of here. I didn't actually realise there was so much smoke in this IC. This IC is a H-bridge that I was using on my magnetic loop tuner. Now, what I didn't realise was when I plugged this IC in, a couple of the pins were not actually into the socket. And I was sitting there, and I got the tuner to try and tune tune a particular frequency by moving the variable vacuum capacitor. And this particular IC next to me, which was sitting next to me, went and there was a lot of smoke came out of it, and it scared the friggin' bejesus out of me. And then, of course, in a comedy of errors, I then very quickly tried to pull it out of the socket, thinking it was going to melt the socket, and burnt my fingers. But anyway, so letting the smoke out, you can let the smoke out, and there's about 0.8 of an amp this little IC is capable of, so you can understand why it went up in smoke very, very quickly. Now, APRS, in a couple of weeks' time, so next week is our presentation night, but the week after that is our forum on APRS and Meshtastic, and I'll do a little promo for it. Forum, please bring along your APRS and your Meshtastic devices and share them with the thronging masses of people that are going to be up here. One of the things that I have only just literally put together is this is the, and I'll put this here, we'll zoom out a bit. Okay, what we're looking at here is, let me get a pen so that I can point at this. This is the Byonics. So Byonics is a company, amateur radio company that produces a whole lot of Foxes, APRS, and a whole lot of other bits and pieces, electronics. What this little MT-2001A module is a all-in-one TinyTrak3, which is an APRS controller. And then on the other side of this PCB is the RF side. So there is a little 1 watt, 2 meter frequency agile transmitter on the other side of this board. There's a little socket here where you can plug it in and do the configuration on the TinyTrak. That's connected to the SMA on the top for the antenna. There's a switch. Over here you can see the blue flashing light. This is a GPS module. That is a panel, a phased array, multi-phased array panel antenna for the GPS, which sits, it's double-sided sticky to the top of the plastic box. So I just have the box looking at the sky. You can see there's a little battery on the edge of it for the almanac, and that's all connected over here to the APRS unit. And then there is two 18650 lithium ion cells in here. I do intend to put in here a lithium ion charger, but that's another story for another time. I got quite a few of those chargers off the eBay, I think it was, and none of them worked. So just trying to source ones that actually work, that will have a USB-C connector on them that you can then charge the 18650s in the box. I've created the box and put a couple of strategically located holes in there and filled them with hot melt glue. And you can see it says the green, when it goes red it's transmitting, and then on the top there is a blue one. And the blue one, if the light's flashing, then it's A-OK and it's synced. If that's a solid green light there, then it's picked up the GPS signal. The GPS signal says it's okay. It's got an almanac that it can use, and a solid green means that everything is wonderful. And you can see on the top of here I've put a few little labels which will remind me when I totally forget about what I actually built a while ago. So that's a little mobile 1 watt APRS transmitter, and I'm in the throes of testing it right at the moment. I have a bit of a configuration issue with it, but that's my problem, not the device's problem. But yeah, it could sit. I've had it in my backpack a few times when I've walked to and from work. That's one of these wonderful fiberglass fiberglass antennas you can do a lot with. It's got a little glow in the dark knob on the top of it, and I've got a glow in the dark one of these as well. So anyway, APRS MT-2001A transmitter, 1 watt built-in 2 meter APRS transmitter. So there you go. Very small. You could actually put it in a whole lot smaller box than that if you really wanted to work on it. There's a lot of space in this box that's not used. Yeah, it's about the size of the actual board's about the size, a little bit bigger than a Matchbox, and the GPS modules. Your pretty standard GPS module. It's about about an inch square, and as the antenna. So there you go. If you're thinking about APRS and APRS trackers, that's certainly an option. Now, DUBUS Magazine. Now, big promotion. How are we going for time? 8:15. Great. Tassie HamECon or Ham Radio Conference. We're calling it Tassie HamECon. We are pretty close to announcing the program of presenters. It's about half and half at this point. Half overseas presenters and half local presenters. So we'll be putting out a program of presenters within the week. That means that we will also be able to put the HamAntics is what we're using for booking. So the HamAntics links will be going out with the program of presenters within the week. So we'll do a big promo on the broadcast, on the WA broadcast, in AR Magazine and any other channels, Facebook, etc., once bookings are open, and you will be able to book. Reminder that the conference is being held at the Sir Stanley Burberry Theatre in UTAS at the Sandy Bay campus. That's where we held it last time. And we've confirmed that we've got that venue, so that's fantastic. And it is on the 2nd and 3rd of November, so Saturday and Sunday, the 2nd and 3rd of November. And there will be a networking barbecue up here for attendees at the conference up here on the Queen's Domain on the Friday night, which is the 1st of November, and you'll be able to book for that as well. Book and pay for that on the Humanitics website. So watch this space. There will also those presentations will also be streamed out. So for our streaming viewers in the US and the UK, if you want to get involved, we've got a reduced rate for those that would like to watch on stream, and we send out the link to the streaming just before the presentation, and you can then sit there and watch the presentation from afar, as well as if you come along, you can obviously sit there and enjoy the presentation as well. So watch this space. I'll let everybody know that it's out and live. So that's the Tassie HamECon that is occurring on the 2nd and 3rd of November 2024. Now, space weather report. Space weather. Now, I understand that all our Auroral watchers are getting very excited because there is another CME that has just happened. So coronal mass ejection that has just happened. It's shooting some energy our way. So watch this space. There will be probably some more beautiful auroral pictures. So in fact, that's a good segue. That's a very good segue. Just let me go to here. Now, let me go back here. I'll just give you some preface to this. a number of us were involved with a Equine Endurance Event, so a horsey event up at Sassafras, which is up in the west of the state. And a number of us, in fact, there was about 20 people involved, 20 radio people involved with this particular Equine Endurance Event, because this was a trial for the Tom Quilty, which is a 100-mile ride or a 160-kilometre ride, which runs for 24 hours. Everybody starts off riding at midnight, and then they ride all the way through and have to finish the 100 miles within 24 hours. Up at Sassafras, we were deployed out into mainly state forest and a few other areas, and I was on a checkpoint called the Rubicon checkpoint with a bunch of guys, which I'll show you in a minute, which included Murray VK7ZMS, who we've had on here. And of course we were up at midnight because riders started to ride from midnight, and we got, on the Friday night, an Aurora. And of course we're in the dark out in the middle of nowhere. There was no city lights to shield us or anything. So we got some pretty specky pictures. This is one of the pictures I took from our checkpoint. So it was pretty impressive. But unbeknownst to us, the Saturday night, the next night, was off the show. Now this was the people that were on our checkpoint. So there's Muggins and Anton and Peter. And then the one in orange there is Murray, VK7ZMS, all rugged up there. Murray was testing his very nice new camper trailer, and you can see there's my radio play van in the back there. So this was Rubicon checkpoint, and we were all rugged up. That was not that long after daybreak, and we set up a fire at that point because it was friggin' cold. So that's us on the checkpoint. Now we came back to Hobart. Most of us came back to Hobart that Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, because everybody had finished, and we were then given an absolutely spectacular light show, and it didn't matter where you where you pointed the camera. And can I just say, this is literally at the front of my place. You can see that's the power pole out the front of my place. I pointed it straight up. I was using Nightcap on the iPhone, which is an astrophotography application on the iPhone. I did some time-lapse photography. This is literally some of the sky. It didn't matter where you pointed in the sky. That was you were seeing something. This was off to the east, so there was stuff going on everywhere. It didn't matter where you pointed, and this is pointed down the street. This was the event, and you can see this is the NOAA, so this is the American KP index. It got to 9. So it was a G5 event. Now, in the Australian region KP index, it got to 8 for a little while. So major severe storm. Now, talking about radiation, when I was in Adelaide, I happened to have some time to kill, so I went with my colleague to the Adelaide Museum, and they have a wonderful radiation demonstration here, which is a whole lot of different naturally occurring radioactive rocks. This is uraninite. It's in a special case. You can see if you have a look at the Geiger counter sitting next to this. You switch it on and it absolutely goes off scale. The detector's actually in the box, so that was good. There is a bit of autunite, which is another radioactive source, not quite as radioactive, but on the way. There is torbanite, which again, this you can see this Geiger counter has gone off scale, having the detector next to it. And then this is Davidite, which is another radioactive rock, and you can see this particular Geiger counter has also gone off the scale. So we've got a bit of a radiation theme tonight. Now, for those who don't know Adelaide, there is Rundle Mall, and within Rundle Mall there is this sculpture. which is commonly referred to by people from Adelaide as and a very, very popular meeting place in the mall. If you're going to meet somebody, you say, "I'll meet you at the mall's balls." So the mall has balls, and that's what they are. So that's a sculpture in Rundle Mall. And then I couldn't resist putting in on a North Terrace at my old university, the University of Adelaide. There is Sir Douglas Mawson, the bust of Sir Douglas Mawson. And I know when I was in the geology department of the University of Adelaide, whenever it was Dougie's birthday, Douglas Mawson's birthday, we always put on a barrel, and Dougie at the time, we would have probably a beanie on and a scarf as well. So there you go. That's a bit of Adelaide. Yeah, that's the t-shirt that I'm wearing right at the moment. So anyway, that's enough of that. You've got enough of the t-shirt. So that's a good segue. Now, next week, I have to remind everybody, it is the Glitching Pulsars talk by Dr. Jim Palfreyman. Next week it will be streamed. And go out, or you can come up here and watch the presentation. Then we've got the APRS and Meshtastic networks I mentioned earlier on June the 12th. July the 3rd is an amateur radio quiz night with Hayden, VK7HH, Ham Radio DX fame, and myself. August the 7th is my life in the Lighthouse service with Mike, VK7FB. Should be a fascinating talk. So that's your blooming lot for this week. You have been listening to VK7 OTC, which is the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night. And we'll catch you at our presentation night, and we'll see you in 3 weeks' time. We'll be back in the studio with a presentation. So we'll see you at the presentation night and also the forum. So 73, have a great night and have a great 3 weeks, and we'll catch you in 3 weeks' time. Cheers.